Congresswoman, thank you so much for being on the program. It's an honor. We know that you are very, very busy right now. Where are we standing on impeachment? And then let's jump into sort of what you heard yesterday.
Well, yesterday was explosive. What we found out for certain is that there's proof now that Joe Biden lied. And the reason why that's important, Benny, is because when they moved towards impeachment with Richard Nixon, it was because they had proof that he lied. That was before he resigned. When Bill Clinton was impeached, the Congress moved towards impeachment because they had proof that Bill Clinton had lied. Now, with Devon Archer's testimony yesterday, saying that Hunter Biden got his father on the phone over 20 times with his business partners about business deals, not what Dan Goldman said. That is proof that Joe Biden has lied, because he's told the public, he's told the press, he's told many people in interviews over and over that he never spoke with his son Hunter about his business dealings, that he knew nothing about his son's business. And now we have proof that he lied. I also spoke with Speaker Kevin McCarthy yesterday afternoon, and I am totally in line with Chairman Jamie Comer of the Oversight Committee. We are very excited. We think this is going to move the needle for many members that maybe weren't sure about impeachment or just were sitting on the sidelines saying there was not enough evidence. I think this is definitely going to push our conference toward an impeachment inquiry, but we'll wait and see how that goes. But I think it looks very good now.
Good. So you were in the room. How was Devon Archer behaving? Do you trust him?
Let me make that correction. Actually, the most members on the Oversight Committee were not there yesterday. We are out of session, and Devon Archer and his attorneys had canceled on us 3 times in the past few months. They were trying to basically stop this from happening. His attorneys did not want him to come in. And as as we saw last weekend, the Department of Justice worked overtime on Saturday and Sunday, firing off letters, trying to basically send Devon Archer to jail before he came in and testified on Monday. They wanted this to be low profile, low pressure, because everyone needs to understand, for the listeners, Devon Archer was coming in to give his testimony to us without immunity, without any protection from the Department of Justice. And that's because the Department of Justice works directly for Joe Biden. And the Department of Justice is in full spin mode and full cover-up mode for the Biden family crimes. So they did not want a big committee hearing. They did not want to come before the Oversight Committee and all the members. So this was done in a very small setting with the Oversight Committee attorneys and Devon Archer and his attorneys. It was many hours of questioning, but I was completely connected with the people in the room the entire time.
So this is something that I don't think is connected to reality, which is the new talking point that they were simply discussing the weather. Do you believe that?
Well, Benny, I've been in business for over 25 years. Every business meeting I've ever had always starts out with the niceties. Hey, how you doing? How's the weather where you are? And then you get into
call your
business.
Parents? You call your so you have a successful business. You call your mom and dad during every business meeting?
Well, I do. I talk with my employees. No, I don't talk to my parents anymore. So that's not something that is typical. But I do talk to people I'm in business with. So yeah, I do. I call them up, just like Hunter called his dad, because what Devon Archer told us is Devon Archer called Joe Biden the brand. Joe Biden and his vice presidency was the brand that Hunter and Devon Archer were selling to their business partners. He was the brand that was being promoted, because the brand was Joe Biden while he was vice president, and the power that he held, and the ability to put pressure, the ability to make foreign policy decisions, the ability to make problems go away, like he did for the oligarch that owns Burisma. And that's why he got paid a $5 million bribe. And we have proof of that on the FBI 1023 form. So you see, Devon Archer's testimony yesterday was explosive, Benny. While he said more times than I like, his answer to many of the questions was, I do not recall. Because again, remember, if you're coming in and you're talking about the type of business deals you were involved in as Hunter Biden's business partner while you were promoting the brand, selling the vice presidency of the United States to foreign nationals, to foreign governments, to foreign countries' businesses and interests, then you were involved in crimes. So without immunity, I think everyone can understand how that was a very difficult testimony yesterday. But what he did provide to us is everything we need to move forward with an impeachment inquiry. Number one, Joe Biden was on the phone over 20 times talking about Hunter Biden's business deals, talking to his business partners. Another comment that Devon Archer made is that the Bidens are in the family of peddling influence. That is a very big deal. And while peddling influence is not necessarily a crime per se, say if you're talking about with celebrities or sports figures or people like that, but it is a crime when you're peddling influence of elected officials like the vice president or members of Congress. It is a crime when it affects the national security of the United States of America. It is a crime when we're looking at abuse of power and we're looking at how the American people's hard-earned tax dollars are handled. So these are very serious allegations. And this is why I will argue this yesterday's testimony was the greatest argument for Congress to move forward on an impeachment inquiry.
The impeachment clause inside of Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution lists bribery as the first reason to impeach a president. It seems to be that if the GOP doesn't impeach Joe Biden, they are standing athwart the Constitution, our founders, their own duty and fealty to the document. Would you agree?
I completely agree with you. And that's 100% correct. It is our responsibility. It is our duty. We swear an oath to do this job. And it's been so important to me. I take this responsibility the utmost importance in any job I've ever done in my life. And that's why I introduced articles of impeachment on Joe Biden's first day in office, because we knew that he had abused power. We knew he had engaged in all these crimes. But let's point something out very important. Bill Barr under President Trump, who was the Attorney General for the United States of America at the Department of Justice, had in his possession in June of 2020, before the general election, the 1023 form that outlined clearly from the FBI's top informant that Joe Biden had taken a $5 million bribe and Hunter Biden had taken a $5 million bribe. Bill Barr did nothing with that form. He did nothing with it. He handed it off to another U.S. attorney and nothing was done. Now, I want you to imagine if Bill Barr had taken his job seriously, if the Department of Justice had investigated this, if the FBI had raided Joe Biden's Delaware home and raided all these places where he stores his classified documents, and they had done their job and their duty that they should have been doing, then I will argue Joe Biden would not be president of the United States today, because America would have already known what a criminal he is and what a criminal his son is as well.
Congresswoman, final question for you, because it's something that is a black pill for many people. There are many people who are doomers, who say that the media is against us and the deep state is against us, and they have consumed so much power with their cultural Marxism that we'll never get a fair shake again. There's a two-tier system of justice, and no one can effectuate any change. You are in charge of one of the few organs of government that the Republicans have right now, and the capacity, obviously, for oversight, subpoenas, and so forth. How do you go about, if there is a Republican that is sworn in 2024, how do you go about 2025, I guess, technically, January 2025, how do you go about advising that Republican to destroy this system? Because we cannot continue on as a country like this.
I say it's very simple. If you're a parent or blessed to be a grandparent, you look at your children and you look at them and you look at their life ahead. If we do not just rip the corruption out of our federal government, and this is not an easy job. It will not be done in a year or 2 years or even 3 years. This is a very long and tedious job, and there will be many people that will fight like hell to stop it from happening. And that'll come from both sides. We already hear it right now from even Republicans on our side saying, let's just let this go by. We should just be focusing on appropriations. We should just be focusing on, passing our bills. Let me tell you something. We will never, ever have a fair justice system in America if we do not tackle this problem and just totally rip it from its roots out of our government. And going forward, I think it is the most important duty we have. And I'll go back to our children, Benny. How are our children ever going to have any type of future in a communist country? Because we are living under a communist regime right now, and it's only getting started. And imagine how much worse it can get. If in America today they use abortion as birth control, they tell children they can change their gender as early as they're telling them these lies at 3 years old and 4 years old, and encouraging them to take puberty blockers and have these surgeries done. They're telling women that even though you have women's rights, you're supposed to allow men in your bathrooms and men in your sports. They're telling our young people to bury themselves in college debt when they could easily learn a trade and get a wonderful job and pursue a wonderful career. They're telling us that marriage is optional. I mean, look at all the lies that these Marxist communists spread across the minds of Americans. And I asked, what kind of future will we have when we have a Department of Justice that won't prosecute criminals, but abuse their power and go after their political enemies instead? That's what I'll be urging President Trump when he's back in the White House. That's what I'll be urging my colleagues. That's what I'll be urging everyone for as long as I can and as long as I'm involved, because it's about our kids, Benny. And that's the only thing that should matter. Every bill we write, every vote we take, every decision we make, we should always think of our children. And that's the best way we can go moving forward.
Yeah, nothing will make you more based and more desirous to save this country than having kids or grandkids. That is what I advise every time I speak to young people. Marjorie Taylor Greene, you are clearly doing your part. We thank you so very much for it. Where can people find your work?
Oh, you can find me on basically all social media except Threads. I'm not on there. Twitter. You can find me on Twitter. There it is, Rep MTG, and my personal account is at MT Greene, 2 E's on the end. Thanks so much, Benny.
And you've just been brought back, and you were brought back to Twitter.
That's right.
I'm wrongfully banned. Yes,
yeah,
that's right.
That's right.
That's
yeah.
right.
Thanks
Ladies
a lot,
and gentlemen,
Benny.
Godspeed. Thank you, Congresswoman.